രാജേശ്വരി വെങ്കിട്ടരമണൻ 130 വാക്ക് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് ഷോർട്ട് ആൻഡ് സ്പീഡ് ഡിക്റ്റേഷനാണ് വായിക്കുന്നത്. നിങ്ങൾ ഓരോ ഡിക്റ്റേഷനും 3-4 പ്രാവശ്യം എഴുതിയാൽ ഹൈ സ്പീഡ്, KGT, ഹയർ, SSC ഇതെല്ലാം വളരെ നന്നായിട്ട് എഴുതുവാൻ സാധിക്കുന്നതാണ്. ഈ ചാനൽ തന്നെ ധാരാളം ഫ്രേസസ് അപ്ലോഡ് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യാത്തവർ പ്ലീസ് സബ്സ്ക്രൈബ് ചെയ്യണം. Gentlemen, in India, the first step in anticipation of the International Women's Year was actually taken up in 1971 with the appointment of a committee to report on the status of women by the Government of India. This committee consists of eminent women from different fields who made an exhaustive study of the subject and submitted a report to the government in 1974 on the eve of International Women's Year. At the moment, this report is under study of the various departments of the Government of India, and I'm sure a lot of its recommendations will be implemented in the course of the coming years. It is an excellent study in depth and so multi-sectoral in its approach that it calls for consistent, coordinated efforts amongst the various agencies of government, both at state and central level for implementation. It can justifiably be said that this report gave a fillip to programs regarding women during this year. It also gives us a correct perspective. To a large extent, it has made government's tasks cashier by identify areas which have been hitherto neglected and aspects which need to be remedied. The programs for the commemoration of International Women's Year in India were prepared by a working group of the National Committee on the International Women's Year, of which the Prime Minister is the President. The programs were envisaged and planned in such a way that they involve the masses at the grassroots level, the community as a whole, and all kinds of women's and child welfare organizations across the length and breadth of the country. In India, even during the current year, government have enacted legislation promulgating equal pay for men and women for equal work. In one of the states, the government has gone ahead with steps for enabling divorce by mutual consent. A national plan for women, as announced in the newspaper, will be divided into the country's 5-year plan. Many state governments have used the International Women's Year as an occasion for operational or experimental projects in the cause of the advancement of women. This year has particularly been utilized for promoting functional literacy for women in the age group of 15 to 45 years, for intensive campaigns for family planning and child welfare, for tightening the system again in the evils of the dowry and other antisocial practices. Even in the field of the sports, a national sports festival for women was recently celebrated in Delhi. In the field of mass India, documentary films, special commemorative films, and social supplements have been brought out during the current year to spread the awareness about the role of women. However, it is difficult to judge how far these efforts and programs, which have been consciously designed and implemented during 1975, will have an impact on the social structure of the country. Habits of generations are difficult to charge overnight. What is most arduous to bring about is a change in the thinking of both men and women and conscious inculcation of the new role women must assume as equal partners in the development of the nation. The women themselves are blamed in most cases for women's backwardness and social ills like dowry or child marriage or ill treatment of the daughter-in-law. Whatever be the impact of National Women's Year, it is certain that women's emancipation and progress has become an international issue which no government or no nation can ignore in the future. It is gratifying to note that the United Nations have declared that the next 10 years as a development decade for women. It is my hope that at least in this country, the aims and objectives of International Women's Year will not be forgotten with the end of 1975, but instead it will serve as a catalyst, a generate development in all spheres, because in India the problems of women are really the problems of development. At the international level, the main document which was deliberately upon for the 2 weeks of the conference was for World Plan of Action, which provided the guidelines for member states. It was a commendable effort which was almost unanimously accepted with some amendments.